Hello, Amender.
Hello.
We were just talking like we always do for several many minutes before starting this because we're never really prepared for this. We were chatting though beforehand. I listened to so today, just to give y'all some context. Today is May 11th for us, the day we are recording this. Okay, May 11th of 2023. We had an episode air today in which I am discussing um my husband being gone out of the country, and he was saying, I said he's been gone since Halloween, and I was like, "Ah, shit. We just done let these people know how many fucking episodes we have in the fucking can before before we aired this fucker." So, just to be 100% fucking clear here, there's what did I say the other day? We were scheduled all the way out until like mid-June.
Mhm.
Isn't that what I said? Yeah. So
Yeah.
there's 7 at this current moment. There's 5 more episodes yet to air that are in the can, like ready to go. We are scheduled out. I'm looking now, but I'm fairly certain it's like until June 15th.
Mhm.
Um, Yeah, June 15th, episode 7. So we have from 3 to 7 already in the can. And when those were recorded are drastically different times than when you'll be hearing them. What we were like 6 months out from this one when it aired. Like we recorded it 6 months prior to when it freaking aired. So
Mhm.
it's okay. We will notify y'all when we arrive back in the land of the present with you and we are closer to um recording and airing around the same time. I would like to get to that point just because then it makes things a little more relevant and a little less strange for when you're listening and then you're like, it's not fucking October. I'm so confused.
Otherwise, we're
So,
gonna have a Christmas in July episode, so it'll be fantastic.
you know what? We fucking might. You just never know. So, yeah, anyway, how was your week? Talk to me. We haven't chatted in a while, actually. What's going on? Tell me
I know.
about your life.
I know. Well, I mean, this week actually at work has been a bit slow, but still unbelievably frustrating. We just had some changes at work that just was a lot for me. I even today I even told about to you earlier. I even got overstimulated where I had to go into another room and just like sit in silence. There was someone else in that room, and I said, "Can I just sit here for a few minutes?" It's just everything's just too much out there. And he was like, "Sure." So I just went into the room and just sat there for probably like 3 to 5 minutes. And I'm like, "Okay, bye. Talk to you later."
Amanda
Um,
needed a sensory break.
I did because just every little thing was annoying me. There was someone having a speakerphone conversation in the office next to me, which I just can't. Like if I just a bunch of people talking at once in muffled voices but still loud, but I can't understand what they're talking about, it just bugs me. And then my coworker was eating her lunch at her desk, and I could every single thing that she was doing bugged the shit out of me, and it's not her fault. And just everything else. So I guess in relevance to that is because we're talking about how we have no idea sometimes when we record versus when something's gonna air. So today being May 11th, tomorrow I am actually officially going in to get tested for ADHD. So if I say
Yay!
tomorrow and it's actually 6 weeks from now, I meant May 12th is tomorrow. Um, so hopefully this test will confirm everything that I've been thinking for the last few years, and I can hopefully move on from there and get properly treated because right now I just can't take it anymore. So it's just been a lot.
I mean,
But
that's big
yeah.
news though. Like that's big news. I remember I was telling you a little bit like when I first figured out like I was not diagnosed by necessarily like a primary care physician like a lot of people can be or even like a behavioral health center or anything like that. My counselor was able to kind of suss things out with me, and then I then took that information to my primary care doctor who then prescribed me the medication because obviously my counselor can't, prescribe medication. She's not a medical doctor. So, but it was just very validating to be able to share your worldview with somebody and share your life experience with somebody and have them go, yeah, you're not broken. That's actually called ADHD. And that's what you have, or that's, how your brain works. I always try to, like, I try not to say that's what you have because it sounds like it's some kind of fucking disease. And it's not a disease. It's just the way your brain is,
Is
made up.
wired and
Yeah, it's just the
mhm.
way your brain is wired. So you have an ADHD brain and you're not broken and it's okay. And I'm very excited for you and I will be eagerly waiting. What time is your appointment?
It's at 9:40.
Oh, good, in the morning. So you don't have to have that, appointment paralysis where it's like a 3 o'clock appointment and you can't literally fucking do anything until, an hour beforehand. Or then you look at the clock and you're like, shit, I have to be there in 5 minutes and you scramble. I hate those days.
Yeah, the what was pretty validating for me already is because she's a APN. I don't know what the AST is for. I think PN stands for psych nurse. And so we just had like a preemptive, like like pre-appointment type thing where she just asked basic questions,
Yeah.
almost like a questionnaire. And then she did like have me like rate my anxiety and depression on a scale like 1 to 10, like how I feel it is. And so I told her, she's like, well, and at towards the end, she's like, well, you're hitting all the points, like pretty much most of the points for like ADHD. So I think we're good to like move forward, and that's why we're doing the test. She said the thing about though is that a lot of primary care doctors like will treat the anxiety or depression or
Right.
both when those are, comorbidities,
Right.
symptoms, whatever of ADHD. She's like, I'm gonna try to treat you for the source of the problem, for what I'm
Correct.
thinking the source of the problem is. And I'm like, that would be great because like I told her like I would take depression medication, it would work for a year, and then I either have to switch or I got to the point where like, oh, I'm feeling better. I can stop taking it, right? Because that's how
Mhm.
that works.
Mhm.
Um, vicious cycle.
Right.
But
Well, and
so
it
if
doesn't address all the issues either. Like,
right.
yes, you are helping your brain chemicals, the ones that are responsible for your, depression symptoms, but you're still not meeting all of your brain needs. Like the dopamine needs to be addressed, and your depression medication is not going to touch that. Anxiety medication didn't do shit for me. I very rarely since becoming medicated have had panic attacks. um it's really generally only when, like, I've either overdone it on the caffeine and my physical body is like, "Fuck you," right? So that I have a nervous system, like, meltdown. But I was taken off of anxiety medication and placed on depression medication, which helped that quite a bit. But then I only have, like, as needed anxiety meds if in the rare occurrence, I have a panic attack. So it's been really nice because then I'm not on all of these medications when the fucking source of the problem was my brain needs more dopamine than it's producing. So
Mhm.
yeah, I'm very, very excited for you. And I want a message tomorrow when you're all
Mhm.
done because I want to hear all about it. And then we'll definitely talk about it um on air next time we record so that everybody can kind of hear what that was like. Because my
Yeah, because
experience is going to be a little bit different than yours. So,
yeah, because after that I have a follow-up appointment on Wednesday. I'm
okay,
presuming to discuss the results of the test and where we go from there. So,
cool
oh,
beans.
I'm kind of like scared to. I don't know what pass or fail is for the test. It's like,
Yeah.
well, because I looked it up. It's called a TOVA test or TOVA assessment, and I
Mhm.
looked it up and I'm like, I guess they Google describes it as kind of like a boring, repetitive computer game. I'm like, well, I'm good at games, so if I'm too good, will it just determine that I don't have ADHD? And so I'm like, well, do I need to fail it then, or do I need to pass it? How does this work? And so,
I get it. Those are always, like, nerve-wracking. I wonder then as well if they're also a place that can assess for autism.
mhm. Yeah, I looked at them and they talked about ADHD on their website. Like, well, they talked about the TOA test, but and so I didn't really see much about autism because, like we've discussed, I believe I have that too, and so
Mhm.
I'm gonna ask her about that on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Um, so we'll see.
'Cause I know it in kids, it's what's called an ADOS test, ADOS test, but I don't know if they use the same testing criteria for adults because a lot of the questions are geared towards children. So
Mhm.
I don't know if there's even an assessment test in place for adults. It's something I've been trying to look into myself, because I would like a formal diagnosis of autism. um I have a self diagnosis at the current moment, and then validated by my counselor as well, who's seen and been with a lot of autistic and ADHD clients, but I don't have a formal diagnosis from a psychologist. So I think it would be very validating for me to have that, just so people can stop questioning me and I can stop imposter syndroming myself,
Right.
more than anything. It's the imposter syndrome that I feel like sometimes. That maybe am I just projecting this shit onto myself? We all go through that, right? Like when we're
Mhm.
trying to figure out what the fuck's wrong with our brains. It's like, well, a lot of this looks like what I have, but do I really have that? Am I just saying this because that's what
Am I
I
just
want to have
projecting this?
yeah, am I
Like,
just projecting because I want an explanation for why I feel, cray cray and not normal? In my logical brain, I know that that's not true. So, but yay for assessments. Yay for getting answers and learning and getting the treatment that you need, because I know that that is incredibly important to you. Meds were life-changing for me. Like genuinely life-changing for me. I am just very happy for you.
well, thank you. Mm.
Yeah. So,
So,
but before we dive into this beefier, heftier topic where we're sort of learning alongside of you on this one, we've got some fun for you. Per fucking use.
mhm.
So we're going to start with that. So I am going to be answering the Mad Lib. So Amanda will be reading the Mad Lib, and then I will be reading the AI story for today, which is goofy as fuck. And I'm ready for it. Are you ready for it?
I am. I'm
Okay,
prepared.
we'll start with the AI story because it's a good chuckle. Oh, hold on. We have to figure out who you are are you in the Google Doc? Go to the AI stories doc. We have to figure out who you are today.
I'm not. Hold on. I did save this as a bookmark. I have a folder called podcast. Bookmark folder. Okay, I'm in the Google Doc. I'm at the.
Oh no. I actually see your picture
Oh, that's unfortunate.
this time. Are you no longer an animal?
Hold on. Let me get open back up.
Nope, it's
Uh,
still your picture.
damn. We lost the magic.
Well, son of a bitch. If Google didn't get its shit together and figure out how to give
It
Amanda's
even asked me to sign in, which it never asked me to sign in before.
so
But I
weird.
didn't sign in. I just opened it. So
So fucking weird, man. Finally, instead of some anonymous fucking animal, Amanda on our Google Doc, our shared Google Doc, is officially herself now. What fucking universe have we stepped into? I
I think
almost
it's a
want the
sign.
anonymous animals back. Just saying. Like this is we just killed a fucking tradition. Off fucking jump. This is terrible. We've been doing this for almost seven fucking episodes that
This
you've been some
show,
anonymous animal.
this show has jumped the shark. There, I can be anonymous shark. How about that?
We've jumped timelines.
We went into a multiverse. Okay,
We've been CERNed. The
this is the
CERN
worst
collider
timeline. This
kicked
is
us
the
into a
worst
new
timeline. Can't take it anymore.
It's the worst timeline ever. We no longer have anonymous animals. It's awful. Oh my god. Okay. Well, anyway, on to this fucking story. Now that we're no longer anonymous. Oh, Amanda Swartos, I just saw you highlight it. I can see what you're doing.
Oh, yes.
You make it big. She highlighted the title and like blew it up. And it says Amanda Swartos. Usually it would say anonymous, insert fucking animal here is typing or whatever. But now she's just doing things to do them. Anyway, we're going to read
Yep.
now. Okay. We're going to read now. That's what we're doing. Okay. Okay. So the words that I gave our AI to include in its little, word vomit thing it does is avoidance, demands of life, obsessed, love, distracted, and bouse. So we're going to see what our little AI computer man has to say today. Okay, ready? Here we go. Be like these people. Better than being some kind of demented loser who has to constantly talk to their desk assistant. Parentheses, I work in an office. I can be a superhero for you now. End parentheses, for reassurance. He gets a job at the gym for extra hours, but hasn't arranged any of them. He just happens to look at his phone for a bit, but he wasn't avoiding the way the gym is organized. He's been with her for 3 years. Her demanding demands and emotional neediness still don't seem to have gotten to him. Better than being someone's second favorite person and more exciting than cleaning a house, he manages to avoid that party on the weekend and has some time for the kids. Be like them.
With his desk assistant. I hope his desk assistant is like the little Microsoft Word paperclip that judges you.
I hope so.
That's what I'm imagining.
Oh shit, do they still have that thing? What Windows was that from?
Like 98 probably.
Or was it Windows 2? Whatever one was the most god awful version of Windows. Was it Windows 2000?
Probably.
Is that a
Or
thing?
Windows XP.
XP. Yeah, that shit was garbage. That's all fucking. Well, we're elder millennials, so we remember these things. But anyway, be like them. Be like them. They avoid that party and still have time for their kids. That is
And
life
do like
goals.
an organized gym,
Yeah, and an organized, but he ignores how it's organized though.
Mm.
Just so you know, he avoids the way it's he avoids the way it's organized. He doesn't ignore it. He
He
avoids
goes
it.
if there's a circuit thing, like
He just
some gyms have a
avoids
circuit,
it.
he avoids it or goes the opposite way just to be a
Yeah.
dick.
He says, "Fuck that circuit. I will do what I want."
Pushes the old
Absolutely,
lady off her
fuck it.
machine. This is my machine now.
Fuck that circuit. I'll do what I want. All right, moving on. Let's hit the Mad Lib. I am ready to answer you, ma'am. Hit me. What do you need?
Okay. First one is plural noun.
Silk sheets, because I just bought new ones, even though they're not silk.
Animal plural.
Flying squirrels. Squirrel.
Adjective. Squirrel.
Squirrel. Boisterous.
Verb.
Saunter.
Saunter. Saunter on over here. Noun.
Curtain rod. Straightforward.
2 adjectives.
Menacing and jubilant.
Ooh. Verb.
Jostle.
Number.
Tree fitty.
Just reminds me of super fitty.
Yeah, super fitty.
Super fitty.
You give that damn swamp monster tree fitty. That's why he keep coming back here. I told you not to get that damn monster tree fitty.
I just always think of Joey with the super fitty.
I think of obviously the South Park episode that I'm quoting probably incorrectly, but it sticks with me. It's never left.
Plural article of clothing.
Fedoras.
Milady. Noun.
Beaver dam.
Specific. Type of food.
California roll. Is a sushis.
Every time I see California roll, I think of egg roll. I think it's an egg roll.
Nope, that be a sushi. The basic white bitch of sushis.
Adjective.
That's what we should put there instead of California roll. The basic white bitch of sushis.
Here, I'll do it. Basic white bitch of sushis. Okay.
Officially being changed. We're not even cutting that out. We're changing it. Sorry for the sniffle, but my nose is running because it's frosty balls in my house because it has to be or I don't sleep. Anyway, back to what we were saying. The basic white bitch of foods is a or sushis is a California roll. What was next?
Adjective.
Reliable.
Number.
So I'm going to preface this because no one's going to understand what I'm saying. So y'all remember the song To the Window, to the Wall, right? And he says, I done came to the club about 50-11 times, right? So we're going to do 50-11.
50-11.
50-11 times. Yep.
Got a theme here. Noun.
Flower pot.
Plural noun.
Walkmans, because this is 90s.
The 90s.
Those were
Okay.
more 2000s, but it's fine.
No, Walkman's CDs were 2000s, were late
Yeah.
90s, 2000s. Walkmans
Okay.
were late 80s, early 90s. Okay. You ready for this Mad Lib?
Yes.
Okay. It's called Girl Power. Meet the silk sheets. That's hard to say. The Spice Silk Sheets,
Oh shit.
the biggest British musical sensation since the Flying Squirrels. These boisterous young artists sing and saunter all around the globe, spreading their message of peace, love, and curtain rod power. Let's meet these menacing performers. Shocking Spice is the free-spirited, jubilant one in the group. She helps sing many of the group's hits, such as Jostle Up Your Life and To Become Tree Fitting. Athlete Spice, who wears sporty clothes. Her closet is jammed full of sneakers, tracksuits, and fedoras. She has lots of energy and beaver dam. Basic white bitch of Sushi Spice is a classic bombshell. Her good looks are matched by her reliable voice. Fashion Spice wears platform sneakers more than 11 inches high and seems way too cool for Flower Pot. Tiny Spice is the baby member of the group and loves playing practical Walkmans on the other ladies. The end.
I'm fucking done. I was literally throwing shit off my desk. My pen went flying. I was laughing so hard. I can't. I cannot do it. Oh, the basic language of sushi.
Spice. I'm glad we changed it. That's
I
so
am
much better.
because California roll spice just wouldn't have done it. Oh shit! And then fashion spices platform heels is 50 inches.
Like I said, I just love the names they give them.
To become tree fitting.
Pretty.
Some of these are going in the title. They have to. Oh shit! Oh shit! Okay, I gotta pull it together. This one was funny as fuck. I'm so glad I randomly picked this one. Oh my god. Okay. Okay, pull it together. Okay. We have a whole ass topic to discuss. Okay, let me move my chair up. Sorry if that was loud, but we have to do these things because I moved my chair way back when I was scream laughing. Okay, so let me compose myself here while I find this article that I wanted to read for you guys that explains our topic today. And again, like I said, we are learning alongside of you today because this is something that is a new concept for me. I keep finding it in my Instagram feed over and over again. And usually when I see things like that, witchy, weird, woo woo, I like to take those things as signs. And I've seen it more than 3 times. And usually, if that's the case, it means I'm supposed to like pay attention to it. So here we are. We're paying attention to it. We're going to do a whole ass episode on it and we're going to learn together. So I am going to read, or Amanda, why don't you read what that little infographic is that you found and let us know where you found it. And then we'll link it in the show notes as well as this article. So go ahead and start with that. And then I'll read this to explain further.
Okay. So, full disclosure, literally just heard about this today when Nikki told me, "Hey, this is what I want to talk about on the show." I was like, "Okay, never heard of it.
Yeah.
I will do a quick Google search." So I did, and this is where I found it. I just literally Googled pathological demand avoidance, and found this in Google Images. So this is from Dr. Megan Anna Neff, Neff. Looks like might be from something called Neurodivergent Insights by Dr. Neff. Okay. It says autism PDA profile. I'm probably just going to call it PDA just for short, or demand avoidance, because I get tongue twisted a lot. So some of the signs are perceived loss of autonomy, activates an extreme threat response, doesn't perceive social hierarchy, in parentheses, in children, they want to be co-teachers or co-parents, Uses social strategies as part of their avoidance. For example, distracting or become immobilized, such as my legs don't work. Obsessive behavior, often focused on other people, can show up as love or hate. Appears sociable on the surface, less likely to be identified as autistic for this reason. And last one, resists and avoids the ordinary demands of life. So yeah, that is the profile.
Okay, so this article is from the PDA Society .org .uk. So, what is demand avoidance? I'm just going to read straight from this. Demand avoidance involves not being able to do certain things at certain times, either for yourself or others, and also refers to the things we do in order to avoid demands. It's a natural human trait. Avoiding demands is something we all do to different degrees for different reasons. When demand avoidance is more significant, there can be many possible reasons for this. It could be situational, relate to physical or mental health, or relate to a developmental or personality condition. It is sometimes difficult to distinguish underlying causes, but a PDA profile isn't necessarily always the best explanation for extreme demand avoidance. It's also important to remember that marked demand avoidance is the most significant, but not the only trait in a PDA profile. Okay, so autistic demand avoidance. Autistic people may avoid demands or situations that trigger anxiety, sensory overload, disrupt routines, involve transitioning from one activity to another, and activities and events that they don't see the point of or don't have any interest in. They may refuse, withdraw, shut down, or escape in order to avoid these things. Helpful approaches include addressing sensory issues, helping individuals adjust to new situations, for instance, by using visuals or social stories, keeping to a predictable routine, giving plenty of notice about any changes, or accepting that avoiding some things is perfectly acceptable. And then it says demand avoidance in PDA. With PDA, these same types of demands or situations may be avoided for the same reasons. However, pathological demand avoidance is all encompassing and has some unique aspects. Many everyday demands are avoided simply because they are demands. Some people explain that it's the expectation from someone else or yourself, which leads to a feeling of lack of control. Then anxiety increases and panic can set in. In addition, there can be an irritational quality to the avoidance. For instance, a seemingly dramatic reaction to a tiny request, or the feeling of hunger inexplicably stopping someone from being able to eat. The avoidance can vary depending on an individual's capacity for demands at the time, their level of anxiety, their overall health or well being, or the environment, people, places, or things. Avoidance can vary depending on all of those things I just said. A PDA profile is also a spectrum and presents differently in different people. Some individuals may have a more externalized or active presentation, where demand avoidance may be overt, physical, aggressive, or controlling. Others may have a more internalized or passive presentation, where demands may be resisted more quietly. Anxiety is internalized and difficulties are masked. Many may have a variable presentation, demanding on other factors like how well or depending on other factors like how well they are managing at the time, the environment, the setting, their age, so on. PDA demand avoidance isn't a choice. PDA demand avoidance, that's like redundant. Sorry, ADHD brain struggling with reading this properly today. You'll have to forgive me. PDA isn't a choice and it is lifelong. It seems okay. We're cutting all of that part out. This is so hard. Or maybe we won't. This is what reading is difficult for me. Maybe we'll leave this in. This is like real time. You're seeing me trying to read an article and read it out loud. And this is what happens. So I'm going to restart that paragraph. Okay. We're going to start again. PDA isn't a choice and is lifelong. It's seen in infants and remains part of the experience into old age. With understanding, helpful approaches from others, and finding self coping and coping strategies, it can become more manageable. Okay, so this is an example of some demands, and a lot of these aren't just like, hey, I want you to do this kind of thing. So it's going to define for you a little bit better what some demands might look like. Let's first look at direct demands. Direct demands are requests or questions made by other people, situations such as put your shoes on, sit here and wait, pay this bill, whatever, right? There are more obvious direct demands, and there's a whole raft of indirect and internal demands, including time. So, time is an additional demand on top of the demand itself. Plans, advanced planning may lead to increased anxiety as the time or date for the plan gets closer and closer. Equally, intolerance of uncertainty, that is a key factor in PDA, may make the spur of the moment activities tricky. Questions. The expectation of being required to respond to a direct question can be disabling. Decisions. Sometimes knowing a decision has to be made makes it a demand, or options paralysis may set in if there are too many possibilities. Internal bodily demands, such as thirst or needing the bathroom. And I'm going to stop there for 2 seconds because one of the posts that I saw, which I'm going to try to find and link, I think the creator is Christy Forbes. She's both on Facebook and Instagram, but she made a post about how she gets angry when she sneezes. And she's like, I'm just now figuring out that like that's part of my PDA because my body is demanding from me that I do something that I have no control over. Cause who like I can't stop a sneeze. Can you stop a sneeze?
Mm.
Like never, right? So like her
Yeah.
body is forcing her to do something she doesn't like doing. And so not only is it like a sneeze come out of nowhere for her, but it's also she has no control over that. So she said, "I always get irritated and angry when I sneeze, and now I figured out that that's why, because it's a bodily function she can't control." So, you can control I mean, you can be thirsty, but you can control whether you drink or not, right?
Right.
Like,
Right.
so sneezing you can't. Just stuff like that, which I thought was very interesting. Okay, back to internal internalized things. Thoughts or desires, internal feelings. So you don't want to have the feels. So you turn them off or just don't fucking pay attention to them at all. Like me for a long time. I just fucking turned them off. Okay, uncertainty, which sort of went into like plans, right? But just general uncertainty. It says that Newcastle University showed that an intolerance of uncertainty is a significant factor in PDA and autistic demand avoidance and needing to know and feel in control of what's going on. Praise. This is interesting, Amanda, because you've mentioned you both equally can't take criticism or accept compliments. So it just makes me think about this, but praise is one of these. This carries the implied expectation that the action will be carried out again or improved on next time. May not may not achieve the positive reinforcement that may be intended. That was a weird way to say that. So basically, it's like, oh, you gave me a compliment, and now you're expecting me to do this all the time in the same way. And I don't know if I can provide that to you. And just the sheer fact that you expect this from me is like, fuck you. Now I'm not doing it. Right.
Now I don't
Basically.
wanna.
Now
Like,
I
now I
don't
don't
wanna.
wanna.
Exactly. That's what it is. Your brain's like, fuck that. Now I don't want to. But it's not a conscious choice. It's just happening to you. That's the tricky part. So when you say it that way, it sounds like, oh, I'm choosing to say fuck you, but your brain's choosing it for you, like it does a lot of times with all of these neurodivergent things. You don't really have a choice. Touched on transitions. So the demand to stop and switch what you're doing, also the uncertainty around what may come next, expectations, sensory overload and sensory integration difficulties, other people's energy and presence, things we want to do, like hobbies, seeing friends, or special occasions. So, not just the things we might not want to do, like housework or homework. So, it's even, I mentioned this earlier before we started the call, that it's even things that like you want to do. So, um, okay. And then there's demands within demands. Bam, they're just really breaking this shit down.
Inception over
Demands
here.
within demands. So smaller implied demands within larger demands. So the demand of going to the movies, you got to stay seated, you got to respond appropriately during the movie, got to sit next to people you might not know, being quiet, all of those things might just be too many things in one. Um this one's interesting and there are many I ought to demands of daily life, like getting up, taking a shower, brushing your teeth, getting dressed, eating, cooking, chores, learning, working, sleeping, all of those things, right? The things that are like, yeah, I kind of have to do this shit because I'm grown and I can't lay in my fucking bed all day long every day. because I'm a grown ass adult with like a job. And if I want to have a bed to lay in, I need to go to the job to make the money to pay for the fucking house, just that kind of shit. And then there's a really cool infographic in here. It shows a pyramid. And then there's some graphics around it that explains things. It's difficult to explain, so I'll just let you look at it. If you want to go to the link, it'll be linked in there. Um, so it's just talking a little bit more about like shut down when things get overwhelming. But the my legs don't work thing is kind of in here, and I want to talk about that. So, initial avoidance approaches might include distraction. So, this was in your graphic you talked about. Or so, like changing the subject or engaging in an interesting conversation. Procrastination, excusing yourself, giving explanations as to why you can't comply to the thing that you're being asked to do, incapacitating yourself, saying, "Oh, my legs don't work," or "I'm sorry, that would aggravate my arthritis," or something that's legitimate enough for somebody to go, "Oh, okay," and like gets you off the hook for that, right? Like some medical thing that gets you off the hook for that. I don't, "Oh, hey, you want to go hiking with us? We're gonna go whatever." "Oh, sorry, my ankle doesn't like," do you know what I mean? Like my ankle's fucked up. And then, or it says withdrawing into role play or fantasy or reducing meaningful conversation. Let's see. And it says understanding the hierarchy of avoidance approaches is key when thinking about effective ways to help. So, from what I'm understanding from this graphic that's next to this, there are like levels in which this shows up in a person, like I said, kind of depending on where their mental health is at the moment. So if you're in a cool, calm and collected state, you're going to have a likely less likely of an extreme reaction to a demand being placed on you, big or small. So obviously the more calm, cool, and collected you are, the easier it is to navigate this. So that's basically what this little pyramid is showing us. There is a whole section about identifying and assessing this. There is a guidance that is available, which is not, I mean, even though maybe most of you listening are not practitioners, they're not psychologists, you're not counselors, it's still something helpful for you to know because this is something you could work through and kind of get your own information on, and then maybe bring this to a medical professional if you feel like this sounds a lot like you.
Earlier, I said to Nikki, I said, reading through this, it sounds like ODD, which is oppositional defiant
Yep,
disorder.
defiance disorder, yeah.
Yeah. And so this, and I'll link this to you. Basically, this is a blog. It's called Steph's Two Girls. It looks like she's based in the UK. It says family life with a type of autism called pathological demand avoidance. And so the title of this blog entry was the difference between pathological demand avoidance (PDA) and oppositional defiant disorder (ODD). And then towards a little bit towards the middle, it says, so back to the original question, what is the difference between ODD and PDA? And so this diagram below, created by the PDA Society, shows that PDA falls within the blue circle of autism spectrum profiles, whereas ODD does not. Let's see. It says a child or adult can be given an ODD diagnosis without an autism diagnosis. However, every child/adult diagnosed with PDA is autistic.
Oh.
It says for more information about autism assessments, I recommend the National Autistic Society's website. It says it would be highly likely, I feel, but maybe not impossible, to have a child diagnosed with PDA and ODD. Because PDA is not yet recognized everywhere. I think some children given a diagnosis of ODD alongside diagnosis of autism. The trouble with an ODD diagnosis when PDA would have been better fit for a child is that there's a huge difference in the strategies which are proven successful for PDA versus ODD. The term can't, not won't, is often used to describe PDA, meaning the child can't help the fact that they won't do something, and thinking of that can help to change mindset and realize that a different approach is needed. So this seems pretty useful. Granted, I don't know what this woman's credentials are. It just seems like she has a daughter with it, diagnosed with it. So this is just
Yeah,
reading a
so
blog
you know
entry.
what? I'm reading further. I found a info sheet on the PDA Society website, and this makes more sense, and I'm understanding it better. So when I was originally reading it, I was understanding it as this can be diagnosed separately from autism because of how they broke it up in the article. Like, oh, autistic demand avoidance is this, but PDA is this. So I was thinking, oh, it's two different things because of how it was broken up. But in here it says autism is dimensional. This means that it varies a lot from one person to another. So it's a spectrum. A
Mhm.
PDA profile describes one way in which autism can present. So yes, it is a presentation of autism.
Mhm.
So yes, if you if you are diagnosed with PDA, you are also diagnosed autistic.
So it's
So
like not every autistic person is gonna have PDA. Like, I
right.
believe I'm autistic. I do not believe I have PDA because I don't really have an issue with people demanding things of me. Like, yes, there's some things I have trouble with. Like, I do have trouble with brushing my teeth all the time, like
Mhm.
going to bed on time. But it's not because I'm like opposing that ideal. It's just
Yeah.
for lack of a better term, sometimes I'm just lazy. I'm a night I consider myself a night person. I'm not because I'm shunning society standards of of a reasonable bedtime. It's
Right, right.
just I just that's how I am. So I thought this was interesting. I just linked the blog to you, like the one I'm reading from. Looks like she's has entries since from she's still going, like from 2010 up until now
Okay.
about where literally is just her blog title is Steps to a Girl's Family Life with a Type of Autism called Pathological Demand Avoidance. Um, so
Yeah,
she has
we'll
a
have to
bunch,
link this too. This is
yeah, like books on PDA, PDA strategy at school, at home, our life with PDA.
yeah.
So she has like an entire thing.
Yeah, and I
Um,
think like this is something I'm definitely going to have to dive more into because there is a demand avoidance sort of built into an autism presentation for most people. Like, you know, I see a lot of the things in this that I would, say, oh, yeah, I definitely deal with that. But at this juncture, is that PDA or is that just general demand avoidance things that come along with autism? The more like, am I just at the top of that pyramid that they were talking about, right? Where it's like you might be having more issues with demand avoidance because you're also stressed out with other things that are going on in your life, right? So I don't necessarily know that it's PDA for me either. However, I will say I see quite a bit of parallels in this for myself and also for my oldest child, who I'm fairly certain I've mentioned on the show before is diagnosed with both autism and ADHD. And a lot of these things I have seen in him, especially like you said, the not understanding that they're not on the same level like as an adult, the social hierarchy thing where it's like, yes, like I'm a human, I'm alive and I'm here. What makes me any different than you, even though you're 50 years older than me or 10 years older than me or 12 years or whatever, you're my mom, it doesn't matter to him. If he feels like he's correct, you're shit out of luck. Like, I don't know what to tell you. I always tell people it's like parenting a 30-year-old in an 11-year-old's body. How many times have I said that? Like, it's like parenting a grown ass adult. And so I can't talk to this kid like I talk to a kid. I have to treat him and speak to him as if he is a full grown adult, or I get this opposition from him and this argumentative shit all the time. And I couldn't figure out what the fuck that was. Like it was I know like he's autistic and he's on the spectrum and ADHD and all this shit. And he does get stressed out very easily. But another thing that stood out to me in this was the fact that he has these extreme reactions to shit. And if I ask him to like, "Hey dude, can you go do this please? Like, you got to do this." He will if he's had like a long like come about a Thursday like today, he's already like spent for the week because of school and all the demands that school places on him, like he will have a full ass meltdown if I ask him to take a shower. Like we almost had a meltdown today because he was fucking done. He was just done and I needed him to shower and he was like, I can't. Like, I can't, mom. I'm so tired. I just wanna lay down, and I still have to do my homework, and I still have to eat." And I was like, "Okay, buddy. Well, then we're gonna have to get up in the morning and shower." Like, you don't not being clean is not an option. We always say being clean in our house is not negotiable because they will try to negotiate out of self-care and grooming because that's what they do. They're kids, but also they're kids on the spectrum. And we always say, being clean is non-negotiable, meaning like physical body clean, right? Like you have to have a shower and you have to brush your teeth at least once a day in my house. I don't force to, but at least once. And so I was like, okay, you have to wake up in the morning and do it then. Okay, fine. And he was just happy to have that one demand taken off of his plate. And that worked out fine. But I don't know. This is very interesting to me. Like I said when I sent it to you today, I was like, "You know what? I want to talk about this because there's this I feel like there is this weird gray area with this where it's like is this definitively pathological demand avoidance or is this just an escalation? Like, is it regular autism demand avoidance, but on an escalated level because of environmental factors? Does that
It's
make sense what I'm
also
trying to say?
it's also trying to determine whether it's like, are you just being difficult on purpose
Yeah.
or it's because you can't help it?
Right.
It's because it's like, yeah, like say, like your child argues with you, it's like now you're just being like, I can't tell if you're doing this just to be difficult
Right.
or just for the sake of arguing. Like, or you literally feel like you need to argue because your brain is telling you you have to argue.
Right.
Like, yeah.
And like this other one too, the intense focus on other people. This one even says even real or fictional. The intense focus on other people, I feel like comes into play with him where there's been several times where he's come home from school and said, "There's just so much stuff going on with all of my friends right now, and nobody's getting along, and I just need everybody to get along because if no one's getting along, then I can't focus and I can't be happy." Like he's so invested in other people around him, even if he's not close to them, like other people in his sphere in his classroom, that it physically affects his emotional and mental health.
Well, it's also probably like the whole we talked about before, like empathetic thing, like
Yes.
being like you feel other people's energy. So if your two friends are
Yeah.
fighting, it affects you negatively because even though
Right.
you're not fighting with either of them and they're not fighting with you,
Right.
them fighting, like for me, I can't watch people arguing. Like I don't like seeing people argue like on TV. It just to me it's like almost like secondhand embarrassment in a way. Like
Yeah.
I just can't. Um and I just if people like if someone's yelling at someone else, like I immediately feel like that person's yelling at me, even though it's just on TV. I'm like, oh God, they're mad at me too. So that might
Yeah.
be a thing for him too, is that he's just feeling the energy of those other people and it's just affecting him negatively.
It's very possible. So I can see like how this could be incredibly difficult to diagnose properly
Mhm.
because this looks like a lot of other things. And it says it's widely misunderstood, um, or it's widely understood to be a profile on the autism spectrum, but I don't know how prevalent this is as far as like general understanding goes. Maybe in the autism world, the neurodivergent world, it's quite understood, but I don't know how well this is generally understood even by practitioner like doctors and things and counselors and psychologists like how understood is this? Because I've never heard of it therefore it's not real, right? That's not what I mean. But like I've heard of demand avoidance before, but I've never heard of pathological demand avoidance as being this, elevated, escalated kind of demand avoidance that's, well beyond a can't. Like their brain is like literally choosing whatever for them. Like they can't just say, "Yeah, I'll do that." Well, they can, but that doesn't mean their brain's going to let them come time for that thing. So it's very interesting topic, and I wanna continue to research this and continue to look into it. Um, oh, here at the bottom, I didn't scroll enough. It says PDA is often misunderstood, or misdiagnosed. It's important for all of us to have PDA on our radar. So, okay, that just proves my point there. I didn't scroll all the way down enough. It's fine. So, yeah, it is missed or misunderstood, and it seems to me to be pretty fucking easy to miss because it looks like so many other things.
Yeah, because even on this blog it says, um Like, a PDA diagnosis might explain why you have chosen to parent in a manner that many would see as not typical, but more important is trying to ensure that all those around your child are using helpful and consistent strategies. And
Right.
I will say this blog that I'm reading, like, this blog entry is from 2016, almost a year, almost 7 years exactly, because it's May 15th, 2016. Um,
Oh, okay.
yeah, and so, like, she even talks about how her daughter, which granted her daughter's probably, like, it sounds like her daughter's probably at least 10 by now. Um, like she said, "In fact, over time, we have learned that some of her refusals are sensory-led, but others are anxiety-driven. Her worries about going to new places or her fear of being sick in the car prevent us from getting her out as much as we would like. Of course, many children have these kind of worries, but not all children are autistic. Difference we see in our younger daughter is the extreme distress which it causes her and the long-lasting knock-on effects if we choose to force the issue." Say, like, for example, one example, she said, when she was younger, there may not have been seen an obvious reason for her refusal to do the most basic of tasks, but we soon realized there usually was an underlying cause. Like, she talked about how she didn't want to wear socks. It's like she didn't refuse to wear socks just because she wanted to be awkward. It was a sensory issues. She didn't get irrationally distressed when we walked a different way to nursery just to annoy us. Her fear of not being in control and not knowing what was happening was the cause of that. So,
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's kinda like for me, like, sensory issues are kinda like, I've talked about it before, and I just wanna bring up up, like, I was at Scott's last weekend, and he Scott has become, well, granted, Scott's never been, like, not accommodating or anything, it's just
Yeah.
I mentioned that I've just not brought up certain things before because I didn't understand it myself, like, and I didn't wanna seem like I was picky, I didn't wanna seem like I
Right.
was being difficult, but, like, he even like, we were making dinner and he asked me, he goes, "I wanna put some greens in this meal, how is spinach for you?" I'm like, "Spinach is fine," and then when when we're almost done cooking, he goes and he brings out, like, a package of sun-dried tomatoes, and he's like, "What about these?" And I look at it and I'm trying to, like, say it gracefully, like, say no, but also try not to be the one person, I'm like, "I don't wanna ruin this meal that you wanna put
Right.
tomatoes in, but I'm gonna be the one person that doesn't want tomatoes in it."
Oh,
And he
geez.
goes, "You can say no if it bothers you." And I'm like, "I don't want them in there, and so I will not eat it if they're in there." He's like, "Okay, that's fine." I'm like, "Thank you." And so that to me, like, sensory, like, I get the whole, like, her daughter, like, she's not trying to be difficult, it's just a sensory thing. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, but, yeah, this is interesting. This is like I said, she has, like, looks like hundreds of posts about this. Like, she had 100 posts just in 2018.
She's been blogging since 2010.
Yeah.
I actually just found her on socials, so we'll link her socials too and her website. Actually, I'll probably just link her website because all her socials are there at the top, so it's just one less thing for me to link, one more less thing for me to remember to link. I feel like this is an open-ended topic, and maybe I can reach out to her and see if she would like to come on the show,
Mhm.
and maybe we can chat with her a little more about what she can tell us about this because I feel like this would be quite helpful information for some of our listeners who might either be wondering if they have this or know they do have this and maybe don't know who she is. But she clearly has, you know, well, she said at age 2 years and 7 months were her kids, and she was diagnosed. Her oldest Sasha was diagnosed at 2 with autism. So 15 years of
Mhm.
experience, personal experience with this. And I feel like that's the best people to learn from. So we'll see. I'll reach out and see if I can get a hold of her and see if we can have her on the show. Maybe we can do a part 2 of this at some point. That would be kind of fun. We need to start looking into more guests anyway. Like see if we can get some folks to come on here and chat with us. 2 weirdos,
Mhm.
you know? Like who dis? Who the
Yeah,
fuck dis? They got like 3 posts on their Instagram. Why the fuck they want to talk to me, right? Yeah.
with my thousands of posts and
Yeah.
followers and all this.
Yeah, I'm actually on well, I was on her page. Where did she go? I'm curious how many. Yeah, 6,000.
Mhm.
So, that's not I mean, that's not the most, but it's not fucking marbles, that's for sure.
Yeah, she's 18,000 on Facebook.
Okay.
Cool.
Anyway, do you have anything to add, ma'am?
No, I think that's about it. I mean, I learned something today, so there you go.
Yeah.
Knowledge is power.
Yeah, samesies. Love it. This is kind of like the stuff that, her and I have like a very basic understanding of the neurodivergent world anyway. Like, even though I've had my diagnosis for a while, I'm pretty new into trying to learn about all of these things. And I've had, a baseline understanding from the boys, but the more that I learn about this stuff, the more it helps me understand not only my kids, but myself and other people around me. And so this is like a learn with you kind of show. And I like that because then
Yeah,
we
learn
get
as you
to,
go.
yeah,
Mhm.
it helps keep the dopamine factor in play, I think, too, because I like to learn.
Go down all the rabbit holes.
Yeah, just period. I like to learn, period. And there's so many different things to talk about in autism alone, in ADHD alone. But then we lump all of this in together with this whole umbrella of just neurodivergence, period. And we probably won't ever run out of shit to talk about. So,
You're stuck with us for a while. Sorry.
yeah, I'm sorry. Sorry about it. Um, however, what did we say? What did we say the other day when we were recording about, like, we'll just cancel the show if this ever happens? What
The other
was
day
it?
meeting 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, the other day for us is could have been 6 months ago, could have been weeks ago, who knows? It'll come to me after we're done recording. There was something about, like, "Well, if this ever happens, we'll just shut the show down. We'll be done. We'll be fine." And I don't remember what it was. But I did tell people if we ever stop doing Mad Libs or AI stories, don't worry because we'll find something else to,
We'll
like,
find something other stupid thing to
yeah,
do.
we'll find some other stupid thing to do. And then I realized that also this episode that aired today had neither thing. Had no stories. I had no Mad Lib at all. So our first episode that ever launched is like, if we ever stop doing this, just know we'll find something else. And then the next episode is there's fucking nothing. There's nothing. It's just us
We're
talking.
consistent and professional.
We're nothing. We are what is that? How do you say that? We
We're
are
if nothing but not or whatever. I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
know.
We're nothing if not consistent. That's what it is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, yeah, we're always consistent. That's what you can count on when you come here to the Neurodivergent
We're
Convergence podcast.
consistent about being inconsistent. How about
That's
that?
right. You will always know what to expect, and that is the unexpected.
But then the unexpected becomes the expected, so it's no longer the unexpected
There you go.
or something.
We just like met it ourselves. Like,
Paradox.
yeah, we jumped another timeline. I felt the CERN collider kick on. It happened again. It's fine. It's fine. The Hadron Collider has bounced us into yet another timeline. It's fine. It's totally fine. Also, as far as like timeline of when things were like recorded, I may or may not have uploaded all of those episodes accordingly, to be honest with you. Like, I really don't know if I did. So, God only knows what the fuck you're hearing when at this point. Like, maybe we should take a break from recording for a while so we can catch up a little bit to more of the present fucking time. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. We make no promises. But anyway, it's 10:38 my time, which is a whole 2.5 hours past my 80-year-old lady bedtime. So, I think it's time to call it. What do you think, Eminder?
I'm thinking so. I'm hoping to go to bed at a decent time because even the nurse asked me how much sleep I tend to get, and my initial reaction was to laugh at her. I just
Like
went,
I just did?
yeah, she's like, "So, do you think do you get enough do you think you get enough sleep?" And I just went, "Huh." She goes, "I'm guessing no." And I said, "You know, 4 to 5 hours,
Ish, if I'm
ish."
lucky.
Sometimes, like, I've gone to work on absolutely no sleep.
Mhm.
Um, yep. So, yeah, that's my life. But the problem is that I sometimes if I know I need to get enough sleep, I wanna take a Dramamine or something, but 1, it might be too late to do that, and also I don't wanna be
Groggy. Yeah.
groggy and drowsy at
Groggy.
the same droggy. I don't wanna be droggy, for my test.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Speaking of mushing words together, that has been so fucking bad for me this last week.
Syntax error.
Yes, syntax error AF this week, okay? So I said there was a bunch of students that came into work. So again, I work at a salon supply house, and then when the students that are in beauty school um get through their first like couple months, they get their student IDs, they get to come in and make an account because you have to be licensed to shop where I work. And we had a few students come in and I had to do a presentation for them because I'm a beauty guru and that's what Amy wants me to do. So that's what I do. And they were walking out the door and I had a cart in my hand and I was like, I'm going to squeeze right past you, hun, is what I said in my brain. But what came out was, I'm going to squeeze right past you, son. I looked at her and said, I'm so sorry. I don't know why that came out as son. I think squeezed and hun shoved themselves together after squeezed again. And so I'm sorry. She's like, "It's totally fine. I get it. It's a crazy week for everybody." I was like, "Yeah, yeah, you have no idea, but it's fine. It's fine." We got at work. I mean, I swear to God, I feel like all of our brains are leaking out of our ears. But I went to Orlando last week, and I was gone for a week for work from Monday to Friday, and the first week of May. And while I was gone, our store, which is the size of a fucking shoebox for spatial understanding reasons, got dropped on it well over 700 boxes of stock.
So probably more than what your store can feasibly hold.
Oh, yes.
Mhm.
It was quite literally stacked almost to the ceiling down the hallway.
Was this like
Like,
a misorder or
no,
something?
this was purely intentional. Then yesterday, we're at work and I hear my manager Amy bust out in the most psychotic break laughter I've ever heard in my life.
Like Arkham Asylum laughter.
Yes, like Arkham Asylum, the Joker laughter, and I'm staring the opposite direction at the register, and she grabs my arm, and I turn around, and she's pointing at the laptop, and what she is pointing is our receiving report, and it says we are getting yet another 474 pieces, and we were nowhere near halfway done with the first 2 they dropped on our ass. So in the last 48 hours, we have all ran our tiny asses off trying to move all these fucking boxes and get shit stocked and on the shelves and then in the back stock areas, which are bullshit and full already. Trying to figure out literally any corner of the store to stuff this shit. Literally any corner of the store to stuff this shit. So that tomorrow, when this 474 pieces arrives, there's a place for it to go. So, yeah. uh, Yeah. I will be calling everyone mushed words and saying all the weird things until my brain can re-gel itself back together.
And being very droggy.
Yeah, and being very droggy. Yeah. Oh, that was another one. I said I was
I
trying to
like how
Rolodex.
we tried to end this episode like 4 times.
We
I just
did.
find that
But
hilarious.
this just reminded me of something else I squished together because it was funny. It was um smoot. I said smoot. And I tried to say scooch. And, like, I was, like, rolling through a Rolodex of, like, words I wanted to use other than move, right? And it came out as, like, I was trying to say scooch, but also move and put came out together, and it made smoot somehow. So, like the Rolodex, like, fucking glitched, and all 3 of them were like, "I just throw it together, she'll say something," and it just flew out of my mouth as smoot.
You ripped the pages off the Rolodex, threw them in a hat, and just
And said, "Fuck it, we'll take them all."
yep.
That's what my brain said. "Fuck it, just throw them all out there. She'll figure it out." And it came out as smoot. So so on that note, I'm going to smooch my ass to
To bed.
the bed. Okay. All right. Okay, we're really gonna end it now. Okay. All right. Goodbye, everyone. Amanda, say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Nickelodeon. That's it's my thinking voice.